Good morning, Year 11, and welcome today to your screencast for America, Opportunity and Inequality, 1920 to 1972. So today we're going to look at LO21 on your knowledge organizer, who won the 1932 presidential election. And we're going to start off straight away by looking at the Republican candidate. So Republican, mainly the colour of red. So the party of Donald Trump, the party, if we think about presidents in America, an American history that we learn about is President Eisenhower, for example. President Joseph McCarthy, the senator, he was a Republican as well. So President Hoover then, so it's really important that we kind of recognize that Hoover had some positives. You know, he had some kind of things that he can fall back on. He can say this here: I was president during the world's highest standard of living in American history. However, what people argue is the fact that, well, yeah, that's fine, but you've also led to the economic depression. You've led to these people lining up, and you're not really helping them. You've led to this. People living in these shacks, they're calling them Hoovervilles as an insult to you. And what are you going to do about it? Well, Hoover said, I'm not going to do much about it. I believe in laissez-faire. I believe in not involving myself in business to the point, as you can see in the image, where it's unhealthy. It needs someone to come in. It needs someone to put this man on a diet. Basically saying it needs not to be left alone. It needs assistance from the government. So, but he says, no, we're going to leave business alone. Doesn't need our help. It'll bounce back on itself. We've also got the idea of rugged individualism. And rugged individualism is really important. And this links it, because it says at the bottom, it seems there wasn't any depression at all. And they're looking at Hoover's speech, because what Hoover says is, he does admit there's an economic suffering, but he says, well, to get out of it, just work hard. You know, there is no massive depression. Just work hard and you can get out of this, economic tough spot. So rugged individualism is just that idea that if you work hard, you get out of this problem. And again, you can see him here. He's kind of ignoring policies. He's ignoring the federal government, and he's pushing American individualism. He's keeping it up. That's his one idea, that rugged individualism. We can get out of this just by a little bit of hard work. However, he does get involved a little bit with farmers. We looked last lesson, and we mentioned it, last screencast, about the RFC. Farmers, okay? He makes sure that farmers have loans to take out. Now, there's multiple reasons for this. Obviously, farmers are really important in terms of food. They've been suffering throughout the 1920s, so they are definitely going through, as you can see on the birds, hard times. And Hoover says to them, it may not be perfect, but I'm sure it'll help quite a bit. It definitely wasn't perfect, and it hardly helped at all. But he says, well, I'm actually doing something. I'm actually helping farmers. So just a quick bit of information. I did mention this in the last screencast. Why is he so focused on farmers? And that's because the traditional farming states here have all usually voted Republican. And again, I'm generalizing, but your Texases, your Floridas usually vote in, usually pretty safe seats for Republicans. Whereas here is the Democrats. So the North is the Democrats, and the South is usually Republicans. So that's why he's focusing on farmers, because it plays to his base. So the opposite then, his kind of opposition is not in red, definitely not in red. So his Democratic nominee, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, also known as FDR. So FDR, what he goes on to do is he promises a new deal for the American people. And that's a really important phrase, a New Deal. And we can see this here. He says if he's elected in the 1932 election, when he gets into office in 1933, he's going to make sure here that he gives a New Deal to America. And you can see in this kind of image the fact that Uncle Sam is cheering him on. We need that New Deal, they say. And that's going to deal with the Great Depression. And there's three parts to the New Deal. There's relief, there's recovery, and there's reform. So relief then. Relief is the idea that, people get immediate support straight away. So old, sick, unemployed, homeless, they are going to get help on day one of Roosevelt's presidency. We then have recovery. So government schemes to provide jobs, such as alphabet agencies. And then reform, making sure the Great Depression never ever happens again. It cannot happen on the scale that it's happened. And a little bit of a bonus is that Roosevelt and his Vice President Garner say we're going to end prohibition as well, which we know is incredibly disliked across America. So that's what they were offering. So we've got to think about this in the fact that in dealing with the Great Depression, you've got Hoover, who offers laissez-faire, leaving it alone, rugged individualism, America should help himself, or Roosevelt, we're going to help you with a New Deal, with relief, with recovery, and with reform. As a result, this leads to the biggest electoral victory in United States history. FDR wins 42 out of then 48 states in America. An incredible amount. And this is called a landslide victory, when there is a complete and utter wipeout of the opposition. And we can see here the kind of reaction to this from the press. Roosevelt promises national relief, and he is going to be the captain of America now. He's going to steer the American ship. He's going to steer them to safety. And just, I think, a nice picture to leave off this. This is President Roosevelt on the first day, the inauguration of being made President of the United States of America.